How much does the StormBlaster tank cleaning system cost? Now, the StormBlaster system is, generally speaking, the most cost-effective and efficient way to automatically clean a stormwater attenuation tank. Often the bulk of the cost in installing these systems will generally be in the pipework and the fluid supply and the surrounding infrastructure, access walkways and things like that to allow for maintenance of the system. These are beyond our scope as a company to supply, and they vary massively for obvious reasons. So in this video, I'm just going to focus on the actual cost of the StormBlaster system, the tank cleaning system itself, and the positional swing arms and lances that we generally mount them on. These are the things that we supply as a business. So first of all, what does the actual StormBlaster unit itself cost? Now, this is a rotary jet tank cleaning system. They come in a variety of different models and sizes, with different size nozzles on them, flow rates, and different jet lengths. They can be sized accordingly depending on the size of the tank we're putting them in. In general, they're around about £4,000 each per unit. It doesn't actually matter too much what the size of the nozzles are. They all fall within about £4,000 price range at the time of recording. So the next question is, how many StormBlasters would I need to clean any particular storm tank? There's a huge variety of sizes and shapes of storm tank, and the good thing about the StormBlaster system is it's very, very scalable. Many smaller tanks can be cleaned by a single unit that can be installed. But if the tank gets bigger, we just divide the tank into virtual sub-tanks. No actual tank modifications are made, but we just kind of carve them up into separate virtual tanks, each one being cleaned by a StormBlaster. So we put multiple units in there to clean larger tanks. Now, very rough estimate of how many StormBlasters you'll need one for every about 120 meters squared of tank floor. Now, this can vary a bit depending on the shape and the size of the tank and how we can position them, but we won't get into that here. For example, a small 5 by 8 meter storm tank will probably just need one StormBlaster in there to clean it. A large 40 by 15 meter tank might need 6 units in there, for example, along the length of the storm tank. So what about the positioning arms? We need to get these StormBlasters into position within the tank. There's two main forms of these, depending on whether the tank is roofed or whether the tank is open. Now, for roofed tanks, we'll generally install them on a downpipe that goes through a manhole cover. This can then be detached from the fluid supply and lifted out through the roof so the StormBlaster can be maintained. Those types of positioning downpipe through a roof cost around about £1,100 each normally. The other style of positioning arm that we put them on is a swing arm. So this is where they're mounted to the side of the tank. We'll position them about 2 to 3 meters into the tank so they're in the correct position for cleaning. And then the arm swings back, it pivots back to take the tank cleaner to the side so it can be removed for maintenance. These positioning arms normally cost around £2,500 per StormBlaster. That's just the cost of the StormBlasters and the positioning arms. What you're also going to need then, this is generally beyond our scope of supply, you're going to also need a pump that can deliver between about 150 and 500 litres a minute, depending on what type of StormBlaster you put in there, at between about 8 and 10 bar fluid pressure. So you're going to need to account for that cost in there if that sort of pump duty isn't available on site already, which generally speaking it isn't. Quite a range there of flow between 150 and 500 litres. So the bigger nozzle ones with a longer range for bigger tanks will be at the topper end of that 150 to 500 litre range of pump duty, and the smaller nozzles will be in the lower end. Generally speaking, we'll spec in ones that will do about 200 litres a minute at 8 bar. That's normally where we kind of end up, but it depends on the size of the tank and the number of StormBlasters we're putting in there. Typically, it doesn't matter too much how many StormBlasters we put in there. It won't affect the pump duty, and the reason for this is we normally run them in sequence. If it's multiple StormBlasters cleaning a big tank, we'll run them in sequence. Each one will run individually, clean its part of the tank and move on to the next one. Normally that's fine. That helps keep the pumping costs down, because otherwise if you had 6 StormBlasters in there all blasting away at the same time, you're going to need a pretty big pump to do that. So we deliberately just run them in sequence. The next big cost, of course, is the stainless steel piping that you want to run between the pump and the StormBlasters. So you're going to need to factor that in. Those pipe runs can be quite long, depending on the layout of the site and where you can position the pipe. So you're going to need to factor in those costs. You're going to need to factor in control valves, especially if you've got multiple StormBlasters cleaning a big tank and you want to run them in sequence. You're going to need to have a control valve system for that. And then finally, if we cannot position the StormBlasters on the sides of the tank or for a roof, there's some obstruction there and we need some kind of access walkway to allow them to be accessed and positioned correctly, then obviously that's going to add significantly to the cost if we're going to have to construct a walkway there. So I hope that gives you a rough indication of what these types of systems cost. They are without a doubt the best way to clean stormwater attenuation tanks in an automated way. So if you want to know more, please give us a call. We've got up to 130 of these units installed across UK, France, Ireland. So they're a tried and tested method of cleaning stormwater attenuation tanks.